prove me wrong, but I think creativity is way more important than having skills and techniques. And I know many people might disagree because they sat there for hours learning how to draw something traditionally, or learning how to do that software, or just understanding the language that it has for days or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand. But for me, as someone who's been an artist for quite a while, I always thought that creativity is way important than having those skills, because you're bringing something unique and new to the world. And a prime example would be like Mickey Mouse or like Tung 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 Saul, right? That everyone like loves apparently. Someone had to sit there and really think or imagine that character coming to life. And although they probably didn't know how to draw or whatever, they probably like was willing to find a way to make it happen. And I think that when you make it, whatever's happened or created, people are willing to copy it from the skills they learn. Same like cartoon characters. I feel like so many people like I see on these social media YouTubers or artists who just kind of show you how they're drawing that character. But the most important factor was that there's someone out there who created that character, and many people started following it. And I think that also involves another factor to it, such as the thought of a lot of imagination. And nowadays, I feel like it's becoming less common to be creative or unique because, of course, the rise of technology or whatever and distractions. But I think just having to sit there and just thinking or just sketching and drawing or whatever just doesn't matter how it is. It's just you're willing to be in your own head and just imagine things that are random or abnormal that many people might look at it such as odd at first. But once many people start liking it, people are gonna start kind of like being bandwagon, like, oh, I love it too. But I guess what I'm trying to imply is that creativity involves a lot of time just sitting there and just thinking or just experimenting. Well, there's people who have skills and techniques don't really, I wouldn't say they don't care for it. They're just more, I guess, logical in a sense of like, okay, well, this has to go like this has to look like this, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just seems like those random doodle characters or design or painting become sometimes a movement that many people don't realize because they're so focused on being technical of this has to measure like this has to make sense, it has to look like this. While there's someone out there who might be crazy, as we know, that all their drawings just became something big. I mean, think about like Basquiat, a well-known abstract artist. He just did all these bunches, I guess, abstract paintings or whatever that got him big, and then people started copying that, but many people wouldn't agree with it. But it was just his creative and thought process that actually got him there. That many people fail to miss that because they're only seeing the outcome and not the actual process. And I think another thing that's really important is, creativity wouldn't really create other categories of art. And I know this may seem kind of controversial, but it just seems like for example, just abstract art, contemporary art. I mean, you name it, right? Without having creativity, right, involved in it, those wouldn't exist. It's like, and many people be like, well, creativity has always existed. It's never been like a thing that has disappeared. But what I'm trying to get at is that when you look at abstract art, it's just a bunch of like scratches or paintings or whatever. And some people may not like it, but there's people who love it because like, oh, I get the feeling of it. I don't know, each their own, right? And it's just the fact that someone was willing to like sit there and just kind of do whatever they want. They're not following techniques. They don't have skills. They don't have those things that other people do, and people love it. And of course, each their own, correct? But without it, that wouldn't exist. Same with contemporary art. There's art that seems really two-dimensional, but they somehow managed to find a way where it's so creative. They're like, I don't care about the perfection of techniques or how long their arms needs to be or their eyes or face. They just love that, hey, this is really cool. It has a meaning behind it. There's an expression to it that I feel that many people fail to see that because they're so focused on trying to make sense through it. And for me, it was hard to understand that when I was first starting until I began to do art myself, and I was like, oh crap, like, it seems like I'm not good at drawing people's faces, but I love over exaggerating their eyes or their mouth or their head, or like, for example, a robot that has like chicken legs and the body of like a horse or something like that. And of course that abnormality seems different at first, but then you realize like, oh snap, like that's where creativity comes from the awkwardness, from the things that don't make sense, the the way things are kind of put together that wouldn't seem to really have a meaning behind it, but it does. And I personally think that as I'm getting older, that creativity for me matters more about what are people willing to try to create with what they have or what they're restricted with, rather than to be like, you know what, I'm going to draw these same characters again and just try to like mimic how they look like, because that's great and all, but it's just nothing unique. It already exists. You're just kind of basically showing off what the skills you have, rather than be like, what can you think on your own? What do you feel like could be you? What makes your thought process alive? And as an artist, I think that's much more important than having to, recreate a Lego character like 1,000 times, rather than be like, let's make a new Lego character, but maybe make his legs longer and his arms shorter, but then we make his head like into a tombstone or something like that. I don't know. It's just want to really dig into your head and be like, what exactly can I make that it's not just me, but something unique or that doesn't feel like it should be there. And I, can be wrong in this situation or be right. I mean, I don't know. Who cares? It's just my opinion. It's just overall, I think many artists, at least nowadays, are missing the point of creativity. Is supposed to be something, different. It's supposed to be, never something that's never been introduced. But that's the reason why it's supposed to be out there, because you want to show what you're capable of doing. I don't know. Prove me wrong. Like I said before, that's just my opinion. Who cares what I think, right?